85-77 win, no matter for the Lions. And we talked about it before the game. Those two guards we were going to have to really deal with, and they were a handful.
They were. It's so funny. We looked like a well-oiled machine in the first half. 40-25, we're defending. But of course, they made some adjustments at halftime. We were switching everything. It was very, very effective. And they went with a very small lineup and kind of dared us. They were going to make three-point shots if we didn't switch correctly. Devontae Upson, instead of being able to be in there perhaps as an offensive threat, became a little bit potential defensive liability. So I kept Antonio Benton and Ochi in there to switch because it was just kind of driving and one-on-one and three-point shooting oriented. I thought we did a great job on their little guard number 3 who shoots it so well. He never got loose all night long. And the game, ironically, came down to just a possession-by-possession grind where either team could get away from the other. It was going to be over. The one thing I was proud of, even though we lost the lead and got behind, was the fact they never got 2 possessions up. Because had they done that, I think we would have collapsed. But, we went from controlling the game in the last 15 seconds up 4 and a breakaway on, and you're like, that's a layup, uncontested, no one's around. Should you dribble it out and maybe take free throws, or do you put an exclamation point and finish it? We miss a dunk. Antonio Benton splits open his finger. He's squirting blood all over the floor. They make a 3. We end up getting, a foul, and they tie the game. Thank God they didn't win it right there with about 3.5 seconds to go. And I had 2 timeouts. I could have maybe gotten the ball to half court and set up one more play, but I thought, let's have one more timeout for overtime. We're at least in overtime, and I didn't want to burn 2 timeouts. I thought maybe Jermichael could turn and get a shot off. So we go to the first overtime. We start off pretty good, and I'm thinking we're okay, and we fall behind again and had to have 2 possessions to tie the game in the last 30 seconds. Put the ball in Josh Fillmore's hands, and he created for guys, and we ended up getting an offensive rebound and a putback to tie the game and send it to the second overtime. And at that point, I thought that it was, that's when the momentum finally maybe came back our way a little bit. It was kind of a desperate situation, though, in that we have 2 foremen that are on the bench, Antonio and Ochi, and I'm like, are we done? Are they done? Ochi fouled out, and Antonio's hurt, and I'm playing Julian Chiara back at the 4 spot again.
Sure.
Limits you a little defensively and rebounding-wise, and maybe you're thinking Julian gets free for a shot. But Jermichael and Julian late in the game made some big threes. Julian broke the thing open. The score is much closer than it looks. But, it's a funny, we just don't live real well with success. It kind of shows we're a youngish team to each other and to the league and to everything also. It's not like we're some well-established, well-oiled machine. They're very well coached. They play very hard. They manage the clock well. They grind, and we're going to be better because of this game. These experiences will be really, really good. It would have been nice to cruise on home. It would have been nice to win in regulation 66-60 and be home already and doing all those things. But, our locker room has a little bit of a buzz right now. And, to take those emotions and to be able to pull yourself out of a tough situation, there's some positives to that. The flip side, of course, is managing a game, having the maturity, making some free throws, making point-blank shots. We don't have the stat sheet in front of us yet because they're still doing the double overtime work, but we had a number of shots 6 feet in, including the missed dunk at the end. Those are 4, 5, and 6 baskets that make this game over.
Sure.
That make this game over, and then maybe a couple of free throws to boot. I mean, this thing, it was just amazing that they kind of gained some real momentum in the one-on-one, and they kind of got some confidence, and their big kids kept driving us, and you kept waiting to get a couple of stops, just 1 or 2, and then we were going to control the game back, and that's sort of what happened in the second overtime. Finally, couldn't do it quite in regulation, lost control, grabbed it back, lost control in the first overtime, grabbed it back, and then got the 1 or 2 stops, real great efforts, real good performances, and then made a couple free throws and a couple big shots, and all of a sudden broke it back open again to where it had been most of the game. So, I don't know what this means, but I'm glad we're back to square. We're almost back to 500 overall. It's 7-8. We're back to 2-2 in conference play. I think now we can focus on a big week of Sam Houston, who I think is one of the top 3 or 4 teams, maybe the top 3 teams in this league. And it's going to be a real gutty performance. These experiences hopefully will help us because we're a team that clearly can play well and with anybody. we're a team that can step all over our feet and stumble around and look like a 2 left foot guy at a dance contest. Difficult to watch your kids. You know, I said something to Alex Sladen, our assistant, about I feel like we're just talking in a crashing plane, trying to get it on the ground. Everybody survives, but the plane's destroyed. There's nothing beautiful about it, but everybody lives, so we survive. But it wasn't the most beautiful effort. We make it so hard on ourselves, which is typical of a team that's searching for consistency, maturity, perhaps even a little bit of leadership, understanding maybe time and score and how to manage a game. And you know, it makes me think that Monday and Tuesday there's some special situations to go over, things to review with the team. But you know, well-deserved day off tomorrow. They need to be away from me. They've hurt me a lot for the last 2 weeks. And then come back Monday morning and start getting back to work. And I just told the team, look, you don't have an average week of practice and have a great performance. Very rarely do you hear, oh, we kind of had two terrible practices, but we won. We had a great victory. Great victories, great runs, great things happen because you prepare well for them. And I hope that we can come out with our bodies in a good place. AB's finger, our bodies getting rested tomorrow, and come back and do some things to get ready for Sam Houston and Lamar. It will be very competitive games, and hopefully we can hold serve at home. So great victory for us. I'm very excited, especially with the circumstances where they were, but you know, trying to help these guys feel comfortable and kind of get that, as my son would say, swag, and to kind of get that rhythm and confidence down the stretch, manage the game, close it out. We have had a little trouble doing that, and it would be great if we have a man working lead against any of these upcoming games that we can hold on to it when we figure it out. Big game up for us Thursday. I hope everybody will gear up for that contest against Sam Houston Thursday night.
Yeah, that game will be part of a doubleheader here in the University Center. 5 p.m. tip for the women against the Bearcats, and then the men will play in the 7:30 nightcap. Coach, to close things out, just want you to talk about the efforts of Antonio Benton tonight. We don't have the stats in front of me, but I can tell you he had 27 points and 10 rebounds in this one. Had that missed dunk,
I wanted 29.
That was a key play, but he certainly stepped out really big.
He did. I thought the only thing was, and again, in searching a little bit, maybe maybe it's a function of who we recruit, not getting McDonald's All-Americans, but he almost tried to do a little too much there. One of the overtimes, he was driving and he got a couple of foul calls, but he was almost out of control a couple of times. He was close a couple of times, and I think the one thing about him, he's a thoughtful and a smart kid. And if he doesn't, if the outcome is going well, he's very, very good. A couple of times he didn't get the outcome he wanted. And you could see he was freezing. And you got to move to the next play. And it was about sprinting back. And it was about, getting in front of them. This is a team that scored 81 points against UNO on Thursday. They scored 77 on us. We had them in great position. I think what we'll look at is some defensive things. What could we do better? What were we not giving up? What were we giving up? Is there a way when a team spreads us out? Because the game's going to become that. With all the fouls that are going to get called now, with any kind of hand check or contact, that it becomes an isolation game. It's a credit to our defensive game plan that what they did was spread out. This is a team that we were prepared to go over 16 set plays Friday to get ready for what they do, and we boiled it down to 6 actions that we thought were similar enough that if we could guard these 6 actions, we could guard them. They didn't run any of it. They went away. Maybe they'd run a guy off 3 on the baseline, which they kind of like to do. But they basically went to moving and weaving and their breakdown, dribble drive motion with ball screens, pick pop action, and then they would just try to drive or do a flat ball screen at the top of the key. And the one adjustment we made a little bit, and it seemed to maybe freeze the guard a little. I don't know. But they had one guy who could shoot it a little bit, but number 0 would get below the block late in the clock, and Devontae would be on him. And in the second overtime, I said, anytime the guy's about to drive the paint, you think you can time it, I want you to take 2 big steps up and stunt like a linebacker at the line of scrimmage and get back to your man. I want hands up, don't let him throw a pass by your head, run like you're going to come double team him and get back again. And we talked about maybe helping from the corner for a split second and recovering to kind of gap those spots so there wasn't a big hole to throw to. But all of a sudden, the number 1 would be guarded by AB, a guard being guarded by a forward, and he kind of stopped. He wasn't getting all the way to the rim. He was starting to pull up a little bit, thinking we were coming. Maybe once or twice he pulled up a little bit. They missed a couple of close-in shots. and maybe those rebounds, those stops, any stop was good at the end, and so that was what we were trying to do and survive. But you know, continue to grow, continue to survive, find a way, and get ready for Sam Houston on Thursday.